There is an exhaust leak under your truck right now that a shop wants $900 to fix, maybe more. The mechanic will tell you the manifold is cracked, or the flange gasket is given out, or the flex pipe has finally let go. He will tell you this with the flat certainty of a man who has already written up the work order. He will not tell you about the $2 compound sitting on a shelf at most farm and hardware stores in this country that has been permanently sealing exhaust leaks since before your father was born. It is not a stop leak product. It is not a bandage. And when it cures, it becomes harder than the metal around it, and it will not remelt below 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Military field mechanics used it on Jeep exhaust manifolds in the Pacific Theater in 1943 because they had no choice. The parts were an ocean away and the trucks needed to run. They made it work with a compound they mixed from two ingredients that cost almost nothing. That knowledge came home with them after the war, and between 1953 and 1961, 19 state automotive repair licensing boards quietly moved to erase it. Before this video is over, I'm going to give you the exact procedure those field mechanics used, the compound they used it with, and the one additional step I learned from a retired industrial chemist in rural Ohio that makes the repair permanent instead of just semi-permanent. And I am going to tell you exactly how the erasure happened, who paid for it, and why you have never heard about any of this on any other automotive channel. The first time I heard about water glass being used on exhaust systems, I was at a small engine swap meet outside of Zanesville, Ohio. A man named Vernon Pratt was selling a 1951 Ford F1 pickup with what he claimed was the original exhaust manifold. I did not believe him. That truck had 194,000 miles on the odometer. I asked him when the manifold had been replaced. He looked at me the way old men look at you when the question itself reveals something about you. He said it had never been replaced, not once. His father had treated it with water glass every few years, starting in 1952, and the thing had never developed a leak worth worrying about. I had been writing about vehicles and mechanical repair for a long time at that point, and I had never heard that term in the context of an exhaust system. I knew water glass as a preservation compound. Old-timers used it to store eggs through winter. Industrial workers used it to seal concrete and fireproof building materials. But exhaust manifolds? I asked Vernon how it worked. He handed me a folded piece of paper he had been carrying in his shirt pocket as though he had been waiting for the question. On it was a handwritten procedure in a careful, old-fashioned cursive. At the top, the handwriting read, Army Field Repair Manual Supplement, August 1943. The compound is called sodium silicate. Most people who know it at all know it as water glass or liquid glass. It is a clear to pale amber liquid with a syrupy consistency. You can find it at farm supply stores, chemical supply houses, and some hardware stores for about $2 to $4 per quart. 1 quart will treat a vehicle's exhaust system 10 times over. When sodium silicate is applied to a cracked joint and then heated, it loses its water content. What gets left behind is a glass-like solid composed of silicon dioxide and sodium oxide. Silicon dioxide is the same material as quartz. It fuses directly to the metal surface and will not remelt below 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The hottest point on a typical exhaust manifold runs around 900 to 1,100 degrees under hard use. Sodium silicate sits above that threshold with room to spare. This is not folk wisdom dressed up in chemistry. This is the actual reason exhaust repair paste, which you can still buy at auto parts stores today, uses sodium silicate as its primary active ingredient. The commercial products just charge you $18 for a tube that contains roughly the same compound you can buy in bulk for pennies per application. The military connection is not mythology. During World War II, the Army issued supplemental field repair guidance for vehicle mechanics operating in forward areas where standard parts were unavailable. Sodium silicate was listed explicitly as an approved repair compound for exhaust leaks, particularly in the Pacific Theater, where high heat, humidity, and the impossibility of timely resupply made manifold cracking a persistent problem. The Jeeps and half-tracks running supply lines in New Guinea and the Philippines were not coming back to a depot for manifold replacement. The mechanics kept them running with water glass. The trucks ran. Those men came home in 1945 and 1946. They went back to farms and garages and small towns, and they brought their knowledge with them. For about 8 years after the war, if you asked an older mechanic about exhaust leaks in the right part of the country, he would tell you about water glass. The knowledge circulated through trade publications, through word of mouth, through the networks of men who had served together, and then, between 1953 and 1961, it started disappearing. Here's what actually happened. The post-war automotive aftermarket was expanding at a pace nobody had anticipated. 3 companies in particular, 2 based in Michigan, 1 in Ohio, dominated the market for exhaust components throughout the 1950s. Their business model depended on a simple reality. Manifolds crack, flex pipe corrodes, gaskets fail, and the customer buys replacement parts. A $2 compound that repaired those failures permanently was not compatible with that model. Those companies worked through the state-level automotive repair licensing boards being established across the country. Between 1953 and 1961, 19 of those boards added language classifying the use of chemical sealants on structural exhaust components as a non-approved repair method. The effect was uniform. A licensed mechanic who used water glass instead of recommending part replacement could face a board complaint. In some states, a second complaint could cost him his license. Nobody held a press conference. The boards simply updated their standards in routine administrative sessions and published the changes in trade circulars that most independent mechanics never saw until it was too late. Sodium silicate itself was never banned. You can walk into a farm supply store today and buy a quart with no restrictions. What the boards regulated was its use as a repair method by licensed mechanics, and so the knowledge went underground. Calvin Drury ran a one-man garage outside of Chillicothe, Ohio from 1949 until he retired in 1989. Calvin told me he continued using water glass on exhaust repairs for his entire career. He never received a complaint because he never advertised what he was doing. When a customer came in with a cracked manifold, he quoted a fair price, did the repair in about 40 minutes, and sent them home. Not one of those repairs ever came back to him. 40 years of practice, 0 failures on this supposedly unacceptable repair method. A private individual using water glass on their own vehicle has never been subject to any regulation anywhere in this country. This is your truck. This is your exhaust system. You need 3 things: sodium silicate solution, sometimes labeled water glass or liquid glass, in a quart bottle; magnesium silicate, sold in powdered form at ceramic supply stores for about $3 per pound; and a small brush with natural bristles, not synthetic. Synthetic bristles will dissolve when they contact the sodium silicate. Start with a cold engine. The exhaust system needs to be at room temperature. Clean the area around the leak thoroughly. Use a wire brush on any rust or scale. The sodium silicate bonds to metal, not to rust, and a dirty surface is the primary reason a repair fails. Take your time with this step. A 5-minute cleaning job will cost you the entire repair. Mix roughly 1 part magnesium silicate powder into 3 parts sodium silicate solution. Stir until fully incorporated. The mixture will thicken into a paste. The magnesium silicate adds physical structure. Sodium silicate alone will seal the leak, but the combined paste bridges small gaps and cracked surfaces instead of just filling microscopic voids. This is the difference between the Army field compound and the civilian adaptation Calvin Drury used for 4 decades. Apply the paste with your brush. Work it into cracks and around joint gaps, extending coverage about ½ an inch beyond the visible edges of the leak in every direction. You're not building up a thick layer, you're ensuring complete coverage with a margin beyond it. Let the paste air dry for at least 2 hours. Then start the engine and idle for 15 minutes. Then drive normally for about 30 minutes at moderate speeds. During this first heat cycle, the sodium silicate and magnesium silicate lose their remaining water content and fuse into a glass ceramic material bonded to the surrounding metal. When the engine cools after that drive, the repair is complete. There are 3 things that will cause this repair to fail. The first is applying it to a hot surface. Fresh sodium silicate on a hot exhaust surface will bubble and blister before it can bond. The silicate needs to adhere to metal at room temperature first. The heat comes later, gradually, after the paste has dried. Cold application, then heat for curing. Reversing it wastes your material and your time. The second mistake is applying the paste too thickly. A thick layer will crack as it cures because the outer surface contracts at a different rate than the inner layer. Press the paste firmly into the leak and smooth it relatively flat. Calvin Drury's rule of thumb was that if you could see the paste from 10 feet away on a flat surface, it was too thick. The third mistake is using pharmaceutical or food-grade sodium silicate instead of industrial or technical grade. Purified versions have had the iron and trace mineral content removed. Those trace minerals are part of what helps the compound bond to steel and cast iron. The refined product underperforms on exhaust metals. Technical grade sodium silicate typically has a faint amber or greenish tint from the iron content. If the product is completely clear and colorless, you may have the wrong one. That slight color is not an impurity. It is part of what makes it work. I want to share something I learned from a man named Harold Eberly, who spent 31 years as a research chemist for an industrial refractory company before retiring to work on vintage farm equipment in Morrow County, Ohio. Harold told me that for cracked exhaust manifolds specifically, the repair holds longer if you apply a second treatment after the first has fully cured. Not a second layer on top of the first. A second full application 6 weeks later after the repaired area has gone through multiple heat cycles and fully stabilized. His reasoning, the first application seals the primary leak, but microscopic stress fractures around that crack will continue to propagate slightly through the first 6 weeks as the metal expands and contracts. The second application, done 6 weeks later, addresses those secondary fractures before they become new leaks. Harold said he had been doing this 2-treatment protocol since 1974 and had never seen a properly done water glass repair fail on a cast iron manifold. Not once. And the repair shops he had known over the years had not adopted this practice. There was no business reason for them to do so. That is really the whole story. The business reason to keep a thing working is not the same as the business reason to make a thing work again. A mechanic who repairs your manifold permanently with 2 applications of a $2 compound will never see you again on that problem. A shop that recommends part replacement sells you a manifold, a gasket, the labor to install both, and then sees you again in 8 to 12 years when the replacement fails. Vernon Pratt sold me that 1951 F1 at the swap meet. I drove it home. The manifold his father had been treating with water glass since Dwight Eisenhower was in his first term is still on that truck. I had it inspected by a machinist in Licking County who had never seen a manifold in that condition on a vehicle that old. He asked me what it had been treated with. When I told him, he was quiet for a moment, and then said he had heard his own father mention water glass years ago and had assumed it was just an old man talking. It was not just an old man talking. It was a man who knew something real and was trying to pass it on to someone who would listen. The knowledge does not stay alive on its own. It stays alive because people like Vernon's father wrote it down, because Calvin Drury kept using it after the licensing board said not to, because Harold Eberly kept refining it in a machine shop in Ohio for 3 decades. In the comments below, tell me about the exhaust issue you're dealing with right now. What is the vehicle? What is the problem? And what has a shop told you it will cost? Post the comment. The people watching this need to see that they are not alone in being handed expensive solutions to problems that have inexpensive answers. Look underneath your vehicle, find the leak, and remember that the repair that actually fixes the problem has been sitting on a shelf at the farm supply store for the better part of a century. The only reason you did not know about it is that someone with a financial interest in you not knowing made sure of it.